Hi, and I'm Reverend Karen Rasmussen and the director of No Child Goes Hungry. I really appreciate you inviting me to this panel today. I appreciate it a bunch. You know the saying, give a person a fish and eat today, but teach a person to fish and they eat for a lifetime. It's funny, I've always thought of No Child Goes Hungry as a giving the fish kind of organization. I do the fundraising and then give the grants, and also with some coaching if the group wants it. But I give the grants to churches and schools and all kinds of organizations so kids can eat, filling the right now need. But in thinking about several of the organizations I've helped over the years, and especially during this pandemic, I actually do see many instances where no child has helped in the farm to table arena, supporting plant-based diets in the food chain itself. What I needed to get out of my head was the idyllic picture of the happy farmer with the big bushel basket of organically grown fruit and smiling as we receive the bounty. And maybe that happens to a lot of folks, but not necessarily to the communities that I serve. But that said, while providing kids in need with food, the organizations I do food raisers with, meaning the collection of food to donate, have a lot of plant-based diet foods included. It might have more packaging and processing than some of you might like, but to give you an example, let me tell you about the River Road Congregation food raiser last week. To donate to a group down in DC, we had a food raiser where people, all with our masks and our gloves and doing the proper social distancing, people dropped off bags and bags of food. We collected so much food for over 3 hours, and in those bags were cans of and bags of beans of all kinds, cans of tomatoes and vegetables and pastas and tortillas and bags of bread and cereals and lots of bottles of juice and cartons of milk. Also included were fresh apples and clementines and oranges and potatoes and jars of peanut butter. You get the picture. Hardly any canned meats or chicken or tuna. So without it being the vision of a plant-based diet and the happy farmer, and remember that most of the communities that I serve don't have access to or can't afford that kind of produce, the plant-based diet items were actually used and donated by almost all the groups that I work with. There are a couple of other things that I've been thinking a lot about during this time, and one is gardens. So again, there's this lovely vision of a community garden that flourishes and feeds any and all. And that might be true for some, but not so much for others. But before the pandemic in 2018, I gave a grant to a group called Soul Fire Farm. I wonder if you've ever heard of them. Check out soulfirefarm.org. They're up in New York, and their mission, and I took this right from their website, is Soul Fire Farm is a people of color-centered community committed to ending racism and injustice in our food system. We raise and distribute life-giving food as a means to end apartheid. With deep reverence for the land and wisdom of our ancestors, we work to reclaim our collective right to belong to the food and to have agency in the food system. Isn't that a beautiful mission, to have agency in the food system? They teach people of color, and especially the youth, to farm. No Child gave them a grant for some scholarships to bring kids up to New York to learn the food growing skills. But until recently, I've had a dickens of a time giving people grants or seed money, pun intended, to start little community gardens. I've offered grants to a lot of groups, and although the idea always has some romance to it, then the people realize it is a lot of work to do it. I've offered the grants and people have said no thank you. But now during the pandemic, I'm getting more and more interest in starting community gardens. That's how I got connected with the Good News Community Kitchen in Occoquan, Virginia, just a few miles down the road. I've partnered with them and they are getting ready to start their own garden there. The last thing that I'll mention in this time together is the food to table delivery system itself. As Lisa and others have mentioned, actually getting the food to the clients who need it the most can be really challenging. But because of numerous transportation challenges, it can be super hard to deliver food to the places that need it the most. And many of our populations simply don't want strangers, well intentioned strangers as they might be, coming to their homes with bags of food. But they do need a very close by place to walk to and pick up the food. That's where having a van or a bus that is used by the organization can be critical. And I see and hear that a lot now. There's a group in Cincinnati, Ohio called the My Why, and they are raising money for their food truck of their own. I just sent them a grant to help, and the goal for them is to purchase a van to deliver the food with a focus on donated fresh fruits and vegetables to deliver that food right to the neighborhoods that need it the most. So these are some of the challenges and also opportunities right now. And I thank you all for listening.